This is the 2024 Harley Davidson Road Glide, and they've made a ton of changes on this motorcycle for the 2024 model year. But the question is, were these changes for the good, or are they just messing around with everyone's favorite Harley touring bike? Also, there's one major problem with it. We're gonna find all that stuff right now. Do the intro. Now, before you can truly understand the Road Glide, you have to know about the Tour Glide, its older, uglier brother. The Tour Glide came out in 1980, and it was the first Harley ever to come with a frame-mounted front fairing. And it was pretty revolutionary. By taking the big fairing off the front forks where it moves when you turn and connected it to the frame where you turn around it, it improved the overall handling and stability of the bike. But the problem was, it was ugly, and no one wanted to buy it. Some people would say that it was ahead of its time. Well, it was about 35 years ahead of its time, because even up till 10 years ago, no one really cared about the Road Glide. It was the Street Glide this, Street Glide everything. That was the bike. The fork-mounted fairing was what everybody wanted. And the Street Glide was Harley Davidson's #1 selling motorcycle. But in the past maybe 4 years, the Road Glide had knocked the Street Glide off its mantle, and now this is the bike everyone wants and everyone's talking about. And we're gonna talk about why. In the last 4 years, the Road Glide's popularity has really started to shoot up, going from the redheaded stepchild to the Ed Sheeran of the family. And this is why. One, for taller guys, you got much more space up here. I mean, tons more space. It's a bigger feeling bike. It's the same frame as the other stuff, but it feels bigger. Also, it does handle better. It does feel a little more stable going on the faster speeds. The other reason is just, that's kind of what the trend is. This is what's hot. But now there's a new Road Glide in town, and it's different. Cosmetically, it's very different. But before we get to the biggest changes, let's talk about the subtle ones. And to do that, we gotta go inside Harley Davidson so I can show you. So the first change is they dropped the Road Glide Special. But now you can buy the base model in a black finish or chrome finish like we see right here. They also have the Road Glide Limited, which is not the new model and is the same model as the previous year, and that one comes in all the gingerbread. But the coolest thing is they have a CVO and a CVO ST models, which I'm very excited about, and we'll do a video about them specifically later. So now I'm gonna hit on the big major changes, the thing you obviously see, and after that, we're gonna take this thing for a spin and see what that 117 cubic inch motor actually feels like. And obviously the biggest major change is the shark nose. They call this the shark nose because it kind of looks like a shark nose, but it's different. They made a lot of changes to it. And I must start with the new front fairing. Now, Harley Davidson is turning a new leaf, and that leaf is getting back into racing. And I might be wrong about this, but I think this is the first time where the new design of touring bike is heavily influenced by their newfound interest in bagger racing, where instead of making motorcycles for the so-called old man Harley rider, they're trying to make motorcycles for guys that want to go fast and turn fast. In fact, the entire body is different, and it was designed using computational fluid dynamics. And basically what that means is it was designed by a computer in a computer AI something. Not a wind tunnel, but some type of computer wind tunnel something. Sportsters are so obnoxiously loud. My Turbo Road King's not that loud. So the tank, the side fairings, the seat, the saddlebags are all designed somehow to look smaller, but actually be bigger, more streamlined, and give you more utility. It's also got a really awesome infotainment center, and this is the first year for the touring bikes to have riding modes. You got sport, you got road, you got rain, you have an A and a B mode that you can actually configure yourself and change the different parameters of, and you can add them in there if you want to. So the biggest problem with infotainment centers is it's a pretty bright day outside. Normally you can't see them. With this, it actually goes to a white background during the daytime, and then at night it'll switch to a black background. But you can see it is very easy to see even when it's super bright outside and the sun's shining on it. It also has a lot of different configurations, including display settings. So you can change the display setting from cruise to sport, which looks like this. And then I think one side will show your GPS. Here shows all your ride information. Then you got a normal sport gauge like a sport bike would. Or you could also do the tour mode, which looks like this. The speed information's right there, your fuel's down there, your gear indicator's right here, and then all the other stuff, your map and all that stuff's gonna be right there. Now, as far as I know, this is the first touring Harley Davidson that has Apple CarPlay, which I love Apple CarPlay. Now, obviously, you still have your cruise control and traction control that you can turn on and off. On the right side, you got your radio controls, and on the left side, you have your infotainment controls. And then we come to the drivetrain. Now, Harley has done a great job with the M8 motor. It's smooth, it's reliable, it makes great power, and they keep on bumping it up and making it do everything that it does even better. A little bit smoother, significantly more power, just as reliable. I love the 114. I'm told the 117 is that much better. And even though all Harley guys say that they ride Harleys because they like the vibration, they keep on getting smoother and no one ever complains about it. And outside of the CVO bikes, this is the fastest road glide that they ever made. It's actually 1 horsepower less than a 22 road glide CVO would be. And if you're wondering what the horsepower and torque numbers are, I got you. 105 horsepower and 130 foot-pounds of torque. That's pretty impressive. And it still gets 44 miles to the gallon. So if you're trying to explain to your wife why it's financially responsible to buy a $26,000 motorcycle because you're gonna save on fuel costs, she might buy it. She might just buy it. Actually, I ran the numbers for you. And what it's gonna cost you in fuel, if you don't live in California and you ride this bike 14,000 miles a year, it's gonna be just under $1,000 a year. That's not bad. The break-even analysis, you know, I think your wife might buy it, so think about it. So the saddlebags got a lot bigger. You can actually see they're shorter, they're tighter. That whole big bag that comes over the exhaust, I think they're kind of phasing that out. They say you can fit a half-shell helmet or a 3/4 size helmet in there. I've not tried it. And they also say that this thing has gained size, you know, liters inside. Also, this seat, I love the seat. It feels good, it looks good. You notice it has a lot of lower back support. There's this cubby right here. No one knows about this cubby. You can put sandwiches in here, and you hide your sandwich in here, or a hot dog or something like that. No one knows. No one knows. They'll never think to look there. So the rear suspension is fully adjustable and also has 50% more travel than the last year model. Unlike the CVO bike, where you can just kind of reach over while you're driving if your hand's long enough and you can adjust it where you're going, you can't do it with this. You have to take the saddlebag off to adjust it. You can see it's right there. And in classic road glide fashion, it does have cool little cubbies right here on both sides. And they're actually like bigger than you think. If you were looking to see how much pudding cups you can put in there, probably like 3 or 4. And this one's also the same size. This one's got a USB-C female port. So you plug in your USB-C cable, plug it into your phone, jam that sucker in there. And a vent up here that you can adjust and change and try to get, because the fairing does a good job at blocking the wind, but sometimes you want some wind because it's hot outside. So hopefully you can use this to manipulate the wind to hit your chest, hit your face, whatever you want. They've also gone back from the hydraulic clutch to the cable clutch. And if you look over here, the front brake lever is adjustable. So you have 6 different adjustments. And if you're wondering, yes, the 117 does have liquid cooled heads, because at a certain performance level, something's gotta be liquid cooled. And honestly, it's a matter of time before the whole engine's liquid cooled. But until then, liquid cooled heads to keep this thing nice and cool on those hot days. Well, the only thing left to do is fire this thing up, take it for a spin. Also, hold on. Will it start in gear? All right, guys, before we do the test drive, let's do the words of wisdom, Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Amen. All right, I'm excited. I got my jacket on, keep me protected. Got my helmet on, got my M1 moto gloves on. Let's fire up the Insta 360 X4. There I am. All right, we got that thing fired up. This bike feels good. Now I know they say this thing's, I think what they said, 16 pounds lighter than the previous model, or lighter than the Limited or something like that. I don't know if you'd feel 16 pounds, but something about this feels very light. And just a quick note, we were having some technical issues with the microphone. I was connected to the camera. It was nothing to do with the camera itself. It was actually a microphone problem. That's why the audio sounds a little bit funny. Don't worry about that. All right, so even though they went with a cable clutch, nothing about this thing feels heavy. The throttle feels great. Honestly, this engine, they're getting these V-twins so smooth that this thing feels like a 4-cylinder. It just feels great. Now, even though this is a Road Glide and it's got this big fairing, I'm still feeling a lot of wind hit me, which is what I want. I want wind hitting me. Say you could really notice the extra travelability. We'll see. I don't know if I'll notice it. They say it's got 50% more travel. I don't recall ever bottoming out my Harley Davidson unless I'm taking it off-road or doing something I shouldn't be doing with it. Also, there's a mode button over here. So instead of going through the modes up here, we can flip the modes right here. And let's put it in obviously a sport mode. All right, so I'm cruising on the highway. I'm doing what this thing was made to do. This is the Road Glide. It glides on the highway. And there's no wind, there's no pressure hitting my chest. It feels great. Also, the one thing I didn't mention, and this is probably the biggest modification, the biggest change about this bike, and it's only in the base model. The ST is different, the Limited is different, and the CVO are different, is these big handlebars. These are basically mini apes, and they did this because so many people change the handlebars out because they want bars exactly like this. Now initially I didn't think I was gonna like it because I'm not a big mini ape guy. I don't like ape hangers. I like beach bars. But I gotta admit, it feels perfect. Now depending on your size or your height, you can roll this up. You can roll it up to here if you want to be up here, or you can roll it down a little bit. I think where it's at is a perfect spot for it. Also, let's drop a couple gears and let's accelerate. Yeah, baby. So if you were to ask me, and you were looking at buying a Harley Davidson, which one should I get in terms of the Road Glide? Did they make enough improvements in this year to justify getting a 24 over a 23? I'm going to say absolutely yes. I mean, I like the improvements. They're really, I think they're great. They make sense. I think you're saving probably $1,500 just with these bars, because when you put on new handlebars and you go bigger, you got to change the bars, a couple $100, but also all the lines, the brake lines, the fuel lines, the throttle, all those lines have to be changed, and that's where the money comes in. Also, it's a lot of labor to do that stuff. So that right there saves you a lot of money. If you guys are wondering how we're getting this footage, we have an Insta 360 X4 on the back. It's their 360 camera, and it's just grabbing everything. It looks awesome. Same one that's right here. Sometimes when you're tall, when you're riding the Street Glide or the Electric Glide or the Ultra or something like that, and the bars are turned down in a goofy way, your knees are really, really close to the fairings when they turn, and they're really close to the bars. It's almost like down here. This, I got, shoot, you could be 7 foot tall. I bet Shaq could probably ride this bike and not have a problem with it. All right, let me see if I can do a good 0 to 60 pull right here. There we go. That's a real world 0 to 60 pull. That was the first time trying it, and I could have done a lot better on that start. I probably could have dumped the clutch. I had the traction control off. I thought it would spin a little bit more. Probably could have dumped the clutch maybe like 4,500 RPMs and done a little bit better. If I get the chance, I'll try it again. Another cool thing about the Insta 360 camera is how many angles it can capture. I mean, you have pretty much infinite angles from one camera. That makes shooting a lot easier, and you always get the footage that you're looking to get. I'm aware that what I'm about to say may sound like, hey Sean, you're a hypocrite. That's not true. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. But let me explain. I like a stock Harley Davidson. They feel really good. Maybe a stage 1, maybe even a stage 2. But at a certain point, you start to lose something. You start losing like the smoothness and the drivability. Now you're saying like, oh Sean, you turned your Road King into a 260 horsepower fire breathing, whatever. My Road King is pretty good. It's still drivable, but I did lose a little something anytime you get that kind of horsepower. So I do love the idea of just having a stock Harley, and I love when Harley makes the bike that's exactly like what you would make it if you were gonna make it. It feels good, it's not too quiet, it's not too loud. I've personally been in one of the sound room that Harley does to tune these engines. They spend a lot of time and energy and money. It's like $11 million sound room just to tune these things to make sure that they sound like a Harley Davidson. So I think it sounds great. It's also not blowing my eardrums away. I'd be happy. I'd be very content having a bike like this. Also, it's not slow. Anything over 100 horsepower and 130 foot-pounds of torque is not going to be slow. And it's got all the cool tech that any other motorcycle has. I'm going to try another 0 to 60 right here. Bam. All right, that was definitely better. Let's get this thing on some back roads. The other cool thing about it is this thing just feels so at home in these corners. I mean, it feels great. Another great feature with these cameras is the Insta360 app, which is great for editing videos and some really cool features to make your shots really pop, especially if you're making content on the fly and on the move. Insta makes it really easy for you to get done what you need when you need to get it done. All right, guys, that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching. Remember, it is not what you're riding, but where you're going. And also, check this next video right here. And if you're wondering, I have switched over all my action cameras to the Insta, the Ace Pro, and the X4. Check them out. There's a link below to get you guys a better deal in the description box.